Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by Callum Snell and Ed, and we are doing the review of the Manchester City Everton game away at the Etihad. I'm going to ask you boys how you think it went. I'm going to guess you're going to say better than you thought going into the game. I'll start with you, Cal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we spoke in the preview about just wanting to get out alive and in one piece, and maybe keeping it into single figures. But to come out with a point, it's obviously a fantastic result. Not a lot of people saw that coming at all. There's people going into the game thinking, "Oh, well, I've some faith in this, that, and the other." But no, listen, it's a really difficult place to go. Not many teams, if any, come away with something. We made a point as well talking about how teams like Brentford have gone there and came away with really positive results, and we'd really wanted Everton to show the same sort of fight, commitment, and desire. And thankfully we were proved wrong, and it looked like we did put in all those qualities that day, and really good performance to come away with a point, much deserved. And yeah, as long as we take confidence from that going forward, then it'll really start to become a good result. Don't get me wrong, it's a point, fantastic, but that point will go a long way if we start picking up some more victories, particularly with the couple of home league games we've got coming up.
Ed, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, similar vibes. In terms of just going into the game, you're just hoping. I was from first whistle sort of just thinking, look, if we can keep it to something like 2-0, 3-0 at most, then it'll be a good day out, just considering the goal difference in where we are. But there was a small little feeling right at the back of my head, just sort of thinking, maybe we'll get something today, because it's one of those games where it's like we'll get battered by Wolves and then go away to the champions fully expecting a loss, to then turn up and get 3 points, or just one in this case. And it still surprises me that we still managed to get that result, but it also doesn't surprise me because it's just a typical Everton thing to lose the easiest games and then get something out of the hardest one, arguably.
Yeah, there is something quite Everton-esque about that, although I dread to think that as we're about to lead into two games, we should hopefully be picking up points, as Cal highlighted. Should hopefully be picking up some points in the next two, because they are considerably easier opposition than Manchester City. We'll start with Erling Haaland. As much as we attempted to rattle him, and I think we did, can't stop him scoring even when his head's probably not all fully in it. Talk me through his goal. He was always going to get one. I'll start with you, Ed.
Yeah, it's one of those. He's one of these players that you just can't sort of read what he's going to do, because what he does, it sounds very easily, but he knows where to be at the right place at the right time for anything, for any ball, any cross, any pass, any deflection, anything like that. And that's what he did for the goal. It was beautiful, brilliant trickery by Mahrez, but to then just get in the right place and stab the ball in. And it was a nice goal. Can't complain. Ours was better, but we'll come into that at some point. But I did really enjoy the little intense battle there was between him and Godfrey as well. I think after the goal, he went pretty quiet, because I think I read a stat somewhere where it said, on average he scores, or on average he gets at least like three shots on target a game. This one he was only reduced to one. So it just shows the defensive discipline that we had for the day.
Yeah, that's quite shocking that we managed to keep him. I didn't realise we kept him that quiet, to be honest, because we saw a lot of him on the camera. Cal, before we go into Godfrey and his battle with Erling, talk us through. Did you sort of agree with what Ed said about the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, he's a menace, isn't he, Erling Haaland? He's a menace. His movement off the ball is, up there with the best in the world. It was always going to be difficult stopping him. Obviously, he got on the score sheet. That's almost like a given for most teams who come up against him in this league. So, you can't really complain too much there, because he's in such good form, and he's he's tip of the iceberg with his potential anyway. I feel like he's only going to get better. So it was all about keeping him as quiet as we can, and as I'm sure we'll come on to in a minute, there seemed to be a certain game plan in place to maybe not keep him quiet as such, but maybe throw him off the game a little bit, which I think was very well implemented by Godfrey, as you say. But listen, it's all about damage limitation with Erling Haaland, fantastic player. I think for the first time this season, actually, I'll say that we maybe saw a different side to Erling Haaland, maybe like the not so nice side came out of him a little bit, a bit of a poster boy, bit of a baby face and all this. But, he came up against Everton and then maybe reared his ugly head a little bit, which was interesting to see. But again, that's credit to the game plan and what the manager and the players set out to do. But just on his performance, again, he's a terrific player and really difficult to stop.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised watching it just how snidey he could be. Like you said, he seems like weirdly, he seems like you just look at him and think, oh, must be a nice guy looking at him. But yeah, had a bit of a snidey side, the tackle on Mykolenko and the funny face he was pulling as well next to Godfrey that's gone viral. I'm not too sure what he's quite doing there. But yeah, the game plan did seem to be rattle him as much as you can. And that was Ben Godfrey's objective throughout the game, it seemed like. I'll start with you, Ed. How well did he do it? And were you surprised by just how rattled we managed to get Haaland? Because as well as being a nice guy, he also seems like quite composed when you watch his interviews. He doesn't seem to let a lot phase him.
Yeah. No, I think it was. I think it was probably from when he went into him and sort of put his. I think he put his knee into his thigh or something, and he needed treatment. And I think maybe it's a case of how early you get in his face that he then gets a bit of that snide little side coming out, because like a lot of other teams, they don't actually know the way a lot of the defenders play against Haaland, they almost seem a bit like fearful and not knowing what to do. Whereas I think really there's only been one time this season where he's not sort of scored or had an impact, and it was like against Van Dijk, and Van Dijk just bodied him and just did everything in terms of controlling against him. And then it's like most of the defenders, they don't know how to deal with him, so they kind of cower, and he just doesn't need to be snide. He just bosses everyone. Whereas Godfrey, in the first minute, sort of sets the tone and just says, "Nah, you're dealing with me today, and this is going to be different." So I don't know. Maybe that's something to think about for other defenders. Don't sort of cower to Erling Haaland, but Godfrey did it very, very well. And like I said, it was such an intense and brilliant battle between the pair of them. And Godfrey, I think, did one of his best performances in an Everton shirt.
Yeah, Cal, your thoughts on the battle between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very clear quite early on, wasn't it? It was clear within the opening couple of minutes what the game plan was from Ben Godfrey, coming back into the side, making his first start since the first game of the season. It's obviously a very big game to come into up against some, real top players. But, I think that's the only way you can stop him, Connor, to be honest. He's a fantastic player and, there is no stopping him really, physically wise, but, mentally wise, you've always got a chance. And I think we had them rattled early on. And you could see that in his celebration when he put them one up. The challenge when he went flying in on Mykolenko was a disgrace, and he should have gone for me personally. And again, I go back to that point I made before about we reared his ugly head a little bit, which I think was testament to the manager and to the players from it, getting that side out of him. And as Edward said, it's maybe something other teams can maybe take from going forward too. But yeah, it was quite clear early on what we wanted to do and how we were going to approach the game and keep him quiet. And full credit to the manager, credit where credit's due. Come under a lot of stick recently, but got to take it hat off to Lampard in this instance, because I think he got a spot on with how to approach this game.
Yeah, it's certainly. I also think he probably is very lucky to stay on the pitch after the Mykolenko. I mean, all fouls look bad in still, but I think in this still you can see his feet do leave the ground. And the worst part about it was I think he was just looking to hurt somebody and let his frustration out. There's no way he thinks he's ever winning the ball. And then we might as well get onto it because it was certainly a great goal. Demarai Gray's equaliser. Fantastic goal. I think I saw somebody comment on, I don't know if it was Twitter or on YouTube over something about Demarai Gray, but they said, brilliant, one in like 100 shot that goes in. But I was saying to my dad when he came back from the game, I was like, he's done it regularly now. I'm starting to think Demarai Gray has this more in his locker than a lucky pot shot. Talk me through it again. Though we've seen shades of this against Arsenal. It was a fantastic goal, wasn't it, Carl?
Yeah, oh yeah, fantastic. You know, we know there's a player in there. I think that's why a lot of people get frustrated with Damari Gray, because we know he has the ability and he can produce moments like that, which we've seen it on quite a few occasions now since he came in last year. It was a fantastic goal. It takes a lot of skill and all ability to do that. You know, he has the initial sort of trip, which I think he came out afterwards and said that actually helped him out and a little bit actually, but it was a fantastic goal. As I say, it takes a lot of skill to do something like that and the confidence to, you know, do that away to the reigning champions as well. It's full credit to him. And I go back to that point about how, you know, this is why people maybe get wound up with Damari Gray, because we know there's a player in there. It's just if he can produce this type of, you know, this type of performance on a regular basis and produce moments of magic like that, then of course there's a place in this team for Damari Gray. He just needs to make sure that we keep on getting these displays from him. You know, you mentioned there yourself the goal against Arsenal last year. That was a very similar goal. We know he's got it in his locker, so if we can just start seeing that more often, that'd be fantastic. I assume he's going to take an awful lot of confidence from that as well. I think anyone would score in such a vital goal at the Etihad Stadium. So, you know, full credit to him. It was a fantastic goal.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on it and Damari Gray, because like Cal said, he is somebody who I think recently, not just him, I think our wingers in general recently have needed a good game, him included, and then Gordon and McNeil are still due a good game as well, I feel, recently.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to yourself on a previous one that we've done, but all the wingers seem to have different problems with. But again, we've mentioned it, but Gray is consistency. Fantastic goal. Just the angle. I was in the third level up, and the way we saw it at the angle, it looked like it was just going straight out and straight wide. But no, it was just remembering as well that Edison didn't get a touch. He just got nowhere near it, and those kind of shots, you could stick three keepers in and you just couldn't save it. And it was interesting because I saw a thing on Twitter as well, and the game had even been out like a day, and somebody was saying, "Oh, well, you know, those kind of shots, you don't want those kind of players in your team that'll just be taking shots like that, because you should be looking for people to make a cross or make a pass, you know, to your players that are available. You don't want those kind of selfish players in the team." And it's like, well, he's there to score and create goals, and he needs to start getting that consistency. Because I don't know if either of you've seen the YouTube video about every goal in 2022 that Everton released. I think it was today when we were recording this. If you have a watch and it goes, so obviously it shows the Arsenal one. Well, it doesn't show the Arsenal one, but the Arsenal one comes up, flicks around and goes. But then there's a similar position that he does in the whole game back in the FA Cup, where he passes it, and then the ball is then fed through to him, and then he has a shot and scores. But it's interesting. Would he have made a pass if there was somebody there? But because he's on his own, he might as well have a shot. And you know, he's got the ability, like you said, in his locker, and hopefully it's a bigger kick up the backside for him to sort of move on, because I think he's got the talent. It's just finding the right opponent for him to play against, I guess.
Yeah, I think finding the right opponent, finding the right way to unlock him. Like you said, there's similar positions he gets in. So the key thing now is getting him in those positions, and letting him score. There's nothing wrong with your wingers being more of a scorer than a creator. You just got to manage to unlock them. It is fair to say this game, I mean, it was against City, so I don't think many can complain about it in terms of it, but wasn't one for the creative football for Everton. We didn't create a lot. I think we only had 2 shots, one of them being on target, and that was Gray's. But it was against the league leaders, the champions, sorry. So you can sort of let that slide a little bit. But defensively, a lot more impressive from us today. I thought the last couple of games, if you're not going to create, you should at least be able to shut up. And I thought defensively we were really impressive. Give me your thoughts on the defensive setup, Carl. Obviously, went to a 5 back.
Yeah, I mean, a lot's been made about this now. I think some of Everton's better results and performances under Frank Lampard have came when we've been playing this, you know, arguably back to the wall football. And you know, this is something maybe to go forward with. I don't know, maybe he wants to implement this going forward. I think that remains to be seen. But you know, it got us out the mire last year. This kind of football, it got us big results last year when we needed them, and we've got another really impressive result today. So, you know, I think maybe you've got to play the way you're facing sometimes. Understand some of these players and their capabilities. Maybe playing this type of football. You know, you talk about 5 at the back there. you know, if that's a way to maybe include Ben Godfrey in the side more often, then 100%, then it's something I'd think about. He's really impressed me against City, just for his pace, his is now so just winding people up like he did with Haaland as well. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think we've missed him. I think we saw against City that Ben Godfrey, who we saw when we first signed him from Norwich a couple of years ago, and you know, we can get him back to those levels, especially coming back from an injury as well, which again is great credit to him. Then, you know, we know the capabilities of Ben Godfrey as well, because we lauded him in his first season at the club. So yes, it was a defensive display, but yes, it worked, and it's got us the results. Of course, you're going to go defensive against Manchester City. You know, you'd be very naive and stupid to go toe to toe with Man City. You can't do it. And as I say before, our best performances and results under Frank Lampard have came trying to do this kind of football. You know, we tried going toe-to-toe with teams. You know, we tried playing high lines before. Look back again away at Tottenham last season, and we got absolutely annihilated. So sometimes it's about understanding your players' capabilities. And I just hope the manager can maybe come away with this and maybe see what works and what doesn't going forward. And, you know, we're in a position where I think I'm confident saying now that we're not in a position to be able to be playing any kind of expansive football. But I just want to stay up now. I'm at that point now. Yes, it's depressing. We all know the situation we're in. I just want to stay up and get in and make sure that we can continue to build. And if that means playing defensive football and get us enough points to get over the line, then so be it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good as well to see Godfrey back. I saw a couple of people almost like they were almost not too keen on him. I saw a couple saying his defensive positioning isn't very great and all of that. But I for one was quite excited to see him back. I think he did a wonderful job. Ed, give me your thoughts on Godfrey moving forward. Like Carl said, he clearly can fit into this back five. Is this something you'd like to see moving forward, maybe, or do you think it's best just kept to the tougher oppositions, the Chelseas, the Arsenals?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to say anything out of line here, because I said something on Twitter about Godfrey coming straight back in when he came back fully fit, and everybody was criticising me, and then we went on a losing streak. So I might make a bold prediction here, but I think when Godfrey is fit, I think they'll go to five at the back for every game. Because if you cast your minds back to pre-season, a lot of the games we played were with five at the back. And it was always Godfrey on the right, Cody in the middle. Oh, no, Godfrey on the right, Mina in the middle. And then it was Tarkowski on the left. So obviously then Cody's now come in for Mina. But I wouldn't be surprised to see if we see five at the back more often, even against teams, maybe against Brighton when we're recording this tomorrow night. It wouldn't surprise me at all, because if you remember as well, Chelsea first game of the season, Godfrey, well, his only appearance really was first game, gets injured. We then can't play the same system for the rest of it, so we then have to drop to four at the back. So I wouldn't be surprised if Godfrey is played for the rest of the season in a five at the back, because I think also there he's got two centre backs who he can learn a lot from in terms of defensive awareness, heading ability, anything like that he needs to improve his game on, because he's got the physique, he's got the pace. So who's to say he can't do it in the future? And who better to learn off than two centre backs that have been there and done it now?
Yeah, I agree. I think like you said, the Chelsea game's an interesting one, because we were playing at five before his injury. And casting my mind back, I don't think we put in a bad display against Chelsea as well. I know it's first game of the season and stuff, but I remember it being a decent, hard fought loss in the end. Final question. I'm going to ask for both of your man of the matches. I'll start with you, Ed.
Oh, that is a tough one. I probably would say Tarkowski, because I think I saw something somewhere where he'd won the most amount of interceptions out of like every Everton player in every game this season so far, or something like that. So, but he was really, really good. And I would probably say a special mention to Cody, because it looks like we desperately missed him against Wolves. Obviously dropped straight back in, and hopefully we can make his loan permanent either this window or the next one.
Yeah, I think Tarkowski, brilliant shout. I think he played really, really well. Same with Cody. Cal, who would you say is your man of the match?
Yeah, again, I agree. Very difficult to single someone out when it's such a resilient team display like that. But, you know, I thought Idrissa Gana Gueye had a really good game again before he got taken off. you know, had we gone on to lose the game, I think we could have been having some very different questions to answer right now, but we'll leave that at that. But yeah, I think I probably have to look at the defence and maybe look at Conor Cody. I just think his leadership qualities are just there to be seen for everyone. You know, I'm sure we've all seen the video of him leading the team out at the start of the game as well. Very vocal, very influential. A massive miss against Wolves, as Ed's already said. So I think Conor Cody for me. But again, I think a massive mention has to go to Ben Godfrey to come making your first start in since August and come back and wind up one of the best players in the world like that and keep him at bay for the most part of the game. I think you've got to give Ben Godfrey a big mention as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think all our defensive-minded players had really great games, really great games. That is all we've got time for, though. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts. As the transfer window is now officially open, I'm pretty sure we'll have loads of content coming up regarding that and hopefully some player signings. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll see you very soon.